Russia, the largest country in the world, estimated to occupy almost 10% of all the land on Earth. It spans across 2 continents, 11 different time zones, has coasts along 3 oceans, and is linked with almost a dozen seas. But did you know there is a museum in Russia with so many exhibits that if you were to spend just 1 minute at each exhibit and stay there for 8 hours every day, it would still take you more than a decade to see everything? Or that there is a lake in Russia so polluted that standing on its shores for 1 hour is believed to be fatal? From jet fuel-addicted bears to 2 New Years, here are some of the weirdest things about Russia. The Hermitage Museum, the state. Hermitage Museum is a museum of art and culture located in St. Petersburg, Russia. It was founded in 1764 when Empress Catherine the Great acquired a collection of paintings from the Berlin merchant Johann Ernst Gotskowski. It is one of the largest art museums in the world, with its collections comprising over 3 million items. Due to their sheer number, it is almost impossible for a single person to properly appreciate all of its collections in a single lifetime. However, that's not the only thing that sets the Hermitage Museum apart from the museums of the world. In addition to invaluable collections and artifacts, the museum is also home to more than 100 cats. These are known as the Hermitage cats. These cats supposedly keep the museum safe from mice and other rodents. Subway riding dogs. The Hermitage cats aren't the only unusual animals in Russia. There are a couple examples of some Russian animals doing things that set them apart from their brethren from the rest of the world. First, let's talk about Moscow's metro dogs. If you ever find yourself in Moscow and happen to take the subway, you may find a dog riding with you. Now, when most people see a dog in a similar situation, they assume that it's a pet, and in most of the world, they would be correct. Well, Moscow is the one place where there's a very real possibility that they're wrong. Turns out that some stray dogs in Moscow, in the process of adapting to their environment, have learned to navigate the city's subway system. So, the next time you're in a Moscow subway, take a look around. Maybe you'll see one of these dogs riding with you. Bears addicted to jet fuel. Let's leave Moscow's metro dogs behind and move to the far east of Russia, to the Kranatsky Nature Reserve. What extraordinary fauna is to be found here, you ask? Well, here's your answer. Bears that seem to have developed a nose for aircraft fuel, which is used to power generators and helicopters by the workers of the reserve. Listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the reserve is home to more than 700 brown bears, which are some of the largest of their kind in the world. These bears seem to be battling a unique problem: jet fuel addiction. The bears have been known to sniff leftover fuel barrels and then dig a hole and pass out. Lake Karachai. Let's leave the animals of Russia for now and talk about the lake that can kill you simply by being near it. I'm talking about Lake Karachai, now almost completely infilled using dirt, rocks, and special concrete blocks. It was a small lake situated in the southern Ural Mountains in central Russia. Starting in 1951, the lake was used as a dumping site for radioactive waste from the nearby nuclear facility, Mayak. Eventually, it became so contaminated that even brief exposure to the lake is considered lethal. The radioactivity of the lake is comparable to Chernobyl, the worst nuclear disaster of all time. From a radiological point of view, it is considered one of, if not the most polluted open-air places on Earth. 2 New Years. Well, that was grim. Now let's move to a more cheerful, or should I say festive note. Most of us are used to celebrating New Year's on the night between December 31st and January 1st, and then packing up the decorations and going back to our boring, everyday lives from January 2nd. Well, in Russia, it's not at all unusual for people to celebrate 2 New Years. The New Year, which is celebrated at the same time that the rest of the world celebrates New Year's Eve, and an Old New Year, which is celebrated on the night between the 13th and 14th of January. So the festivities can last almost 2 weeks. The Old New Year is a remnant of, quite literally, the Old Russian New Year. This is because Russia switched to the Gregorian calendar, the calendar that is used now by most of the world, in 1918. Before that, Russia's official calendar of use was the Julian calendar. Actually, the country's Orthodox Church, sometimes called the Moscow Patriarchate, but more commonly known simply as the Russian Orthodox Church, still follows the Julian calendar. Beer technically wasn't considered alcohol. Did you know that until 2011, beer was not classified as alcohol in Russia, and therefore, its sale was not regulated in the same way that the sale of other alcoholic drinks such as vodka was regulated? The reason being that Russia followed the Nice Agreement concerning the classification of goods and services, which classified alcoholic drinks and beer into separate categories. Although officially classified as foodstuff, it wouldn't be accurate to say that a can of beer was considered the same as, say, a can of Pepsi. People still knew that it could get you drunk. Pregnant women were advised against it, and minors couldn't freely buy it even then. In 2011 at last, a law was passed that classified beer as an alcoholic drink. That's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it interesting. To find out some interesting things about Japan, also called the Land of the Rising Sun, click the link below.